All right, my dear students, here for take 3 of this tutorial or this class lesson. I am now using the GPU software that comes along with it to record, and I think this will be the solution. I think I am getting some good result, so hopefully this will work. Because last times it was working fine until it didn't, so it's pretty hard to tell when the issue actually happens 10 minutes in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this thing again, and hopefully it works. So starting again, yeah, let's go in the particle system particles folder. Let's type ps underscore sword slash underscore 01. Let's open this up. Open here on my other monitor. So let's put a type data for a mesh, and then we're going to change this to our mesh slash. We're going to click override material, very important option if we want to be able to change the material afterwards, that is. So now we have this. Let's change the initial size to a constant of 1. Then we can enable lock XYZ, so it's the equivalent of typing 111. So now we have this tiny little mesh over there. Let's remove the initial velocity. Let's give it a rotation, initial mesh rotation, and we are going to set it to a constant of what was it? 0.125? Is that it? Or minus 0.125? Yeah, that works. Slash. Okay, so now that we have this, let's change lifetime is set to 1. That's good. Let's change the spawn rate to a spawn of 1 per second. This won't be the final value, but let's just put it there so that we can preview our effect every second. So now that we have this on the particle system, we are ready to start work on the material that we will do for it. So let's just go ahead and drag the particle system in the center of the scene. We can set it to 0, 0, 0, and then lift it up a little bit so that it's above ground. So now we have this. And then we go in our material folder and we create a new material that we will name fxmat underscore sword slash underscore. You should write it 01, but for me it's now 03 because it's the third time that I'm actually doing this. So when this is open, we need to change the material and set it to translucent. We set it to unlit, and we also enable two-sided because we want to be able to see the mesh from both sides, on the inside and the outside. So first thing we're gonna do is we are going to put a texture sample parameter 2D, this one over here. We are going to call this alpha. All right. And then we are going to get the right texture. So let's just go ahead and navigate to our texture folder, and this is the one that we want. So we can simply, do I have it selected? I don't have it selected. Just click this. You can simply drag it here. There we go. So now we have the right texture, and if we simply plug this inside of the opacity, and let's create a color node. So by holding V and clicking, we get this color node. So we'll call this color. I'm going to put it there temporarily, but eventually we're actually going to remove it. But just so that we have something to preview. So let's click save. Now once this is saved, let's go inside of our particle system and let's assign this new material sword slash 3. Let's save this one. So now, when it's done compiling, we are going to see it there in our scene. I'm also going to keep looking at the time, the recording time of the video. Maybe if I stop every 10 minutes, it will be less likely to start bugging. It's taking a long time. Oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, we have this thing that is this gradient that goes from the start to the end. Now, the most important thing inside of our material is to give it a dynamic parameter. And I've explained this many times already in the other takes of the video, but kind of like what we did with the Kamehameha, we were controlling the tiling of the material in the particle system itself by using this thing over here. But now we're not going to control the tiling, we're going to control the offset of the texture. So we are going to rename this alpha offset. And I know that in every video I've been changing the name. I'm just coming up with these on the spot. But as long as you use names that are easily rememberable, that makes sense, so that you know what it's for. I guess it works. So let's create our controllers. So let's, holding S, let's click twice. This one we'll call X tiling, actually alpha X tiling, and we'll give it a default value of 1. And same thing for this one, alpha Y tiling, and we also give it a value of 1. Then we need to append vector. X is at the top, Y is at the bottom. Then we need to get a text chords, and we multiply the text chords with those controls that we just created. And then same thing, we are holding S, we are going to create 2 new material parameters. We're going to call this one alpha X offset. This one is going to be alpha Y offset. And they don't need to have a default value. I just leave it at 0. Because tiling, you want to tile your texture one by one, but the offset you don't need any, so just put 0. That's what those numbers really are. It's it's the same numbers like whenever you have a default material in Unity and you see tiling, offset, all that stuff. That's what we're creating here. So let's append vector these two, and actually let's move this down, and we are going to add the alpha offset to the Y offset over here, so that when we control the particle system, when we change this value over here in the particle system, it's changing how this one is shown. It's going to move up or down depending on the value that's here. The same way that if we change this over here and we were to plug it in the texture, you would get an offset. Now the preview is very slow. I'll just save. Yeah, see, so when you change that value, it's the same thing as changing that value over here. Why do we create this box here? Just out of habit, so that you always have sort of the standard controls whenever you create a new material and you would like to make an instance of it. So now that we have this saved, let's just actually put this back to 0. I think it's going to compile faster since it was already plugged in. you should see this texture going back to its position eventually. Maybe if I do this. Oh, it's gonna happen at one point. It's just this computer is so slow. Well, it's not slow actually, it's a good computer, but there it is. But I guess Unreal is just that heavy on machines or something. So anyway, we have this, we already saved it, and now if we lower that, we have the same thing that we saw earlier, but if we go inside of our particle system over here and we add a parameter dynamic and we click refresh, let's just open this up. Right now it says none, but when we click refresh, it sort of makes the link with the material, and we can simply go here, open up the settings. Let's set it to a constant curve and give it 2 keys, and what we want is to go from -1 to 1. So in value 0, oh, it's actually the opposite. So in value 0, out value 1. In value of the second point is 1, and second value is -1. Oops. Like this. There we go. So now we have something that's swiping across. And as you can see, it keeps coming back from behind because the texture is set to be tiling. But if we click on this over here, we can go on sampler source, and right now it says from texture asset. This means that like in the texture over here itself, if we double click it, we have a bunch of settings that we can set, and we could set the wrapping to be clamped or not over here. Somewhere, I think it's over here. Yeah, it's set to wrap. You can change the settings here, but you can also change it directly in the material in case you want to actually use the texture in many different ways depending on the material. So I'm just going to show how to change it here. You just set this to clamp. Now you save. And you have this beautiful thing that is swiping just once. So this will be it for our first video.